and I caught the first plane back to attend to his family and his funeral. But I was scheduled to do this there, and I hope you understand that I had to come back. But Dick had been with us for 32 years, and before that he had worked with Tacoma Screw Products Company, and I don't know how many years he was there, but he was well known in the industry, and a real terrific guy and a very big asset to our company. I miss him as a friend, and I certainly, company misses him as an employee. Now this is another shot of Dick and myself. I may have been telling him, don't ever let yourself be overpaid at this time. I don't know. But I will miss him, and a lot of people that I know will miss him. Now here is Orville Neese. He was a charter member of WAFTA, and he was a very good friend of mine. He and Marion Neese and Adele and I had a lot of good times together. Orville was a member of the National Fastener Association. He was on the board there for 3 years, and I don't believe he was on the board of WAFTA, but he was a charter member of WAFTA. I'm sure we all remember this young man. Jerry was one of these guys from the old school. Tough as nails, but heart of gold. I didn't know Jerry too well, but I know that he never missed a meeting, whether it be a National Fastener Association meeting or a WAFTA meeting. I don't think he missed a stroke. One time I met him at the airport. I said, where are you going? He says, I'm going to the National Fastener Association. I said, you just left the WAFTA. He says, I haven't got time to go home and pack. So he just went from one to another. And Jerry, I think he served on the WAFTA board for 3 years. Eugene Fastener Company. Now here's the one of a kind, Ray Bristow, Sr. In the early 50s and 60s, he was the terror of the bolt industry in the Portland area. He kept us in the small screw business, believe me. Another guy that had a hide of leather but a heart of gold. We had good times together. I was instrumental in, as membership chairman, accepting him into the National Fastener Association, and I broke kind of the rules that they didn't want two people in the same market area in the organization, but I said that ain't going to work. We're going to get in trouble if we keep this up. So I did that, and we were kind of friendly after that. Ray, like I say, had a great share of the bolt market, and you always knew where Ray was because he had a white Cadillac, and on his license plate he had bolts put on it. And anytime you go by a restaurant and here's that car, we knew he had a customer in there. So he did it on purpose. I tried to get the word screws on my car, and the state of Oregon wouldn't let me do it. So that's an improper word. I don't know. I think probably I could do it now, but I don't care now. Yeah, Ray was one of these guys from the old school. I'm going to tell a story that when I was on the NFDA, I was assigned the job of moderating a panel discussion, and the title of the panel was, what can distributors do for suppliers, and what can suppliers do for distributors? Well, we had 3 suppliers and 3 distributors, and when they finished their presentations, I opened it up to the floor for questions and answers, and there was several good exchanges between the floor and the panel. And then all of a sudden I looked at my watch and I had like 20 minutes to go, and there was no hands except one. Ray. He was in the back of the room, way in the back, and Ray was only about 5 foot tall. You could hardly see him if he was standing up, but he was jumping up and down, waving his arm, and I tried to avoid paying any attention to him because sometimes Ray had a habit of telling you something you didn't want to hear. So after a while I said, well, what do you want, Ray? So Ray came bouncing out of his chair, came right down the front of the aisle, and proceeded to tell me what I didn't want to hear. He says, Dave, he said, let's throw these guys, these suppliers that are selling the station wagon jobbers out of this organization. And he says, while we're doing it, let's throw the suppliers out too. And the silence you could have cut with a butter knife. I looked at him and I said, Ray, that's an improper question. The panel cannot answer it. Ray said, well, throw me out then. I said, Ray, if the panel responds to that question, we'll all get thrown out. So he went out of the room mumbling, Kendall, I thought we were friends. But that was good old Ray, and he was a tough competitor. Well, I don't want to get into Scott's time, so I'm going to end this, and thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure, and have a good convention.
Well, I hope that all of you enjoyed that as much as I do. It's a pleasure to hear from people like Dave who have been in the industry for so long. And when he showed the picture of Orville Nice, that's where I started, 1963. But I just have a couple of short announcements to make. The next meeting is at 9 o'clock in Empress AB. When you leave this room, turn right and go down the hall until you see the WAFTA sign. This will be Scott Pedersen's presentation on integrated supply. Thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you at the next meeting.